and welcome to my knitting podcast. My name is Monika, and this is episode 15. Yes, last time I had been quite sick for quite a while, so I'm not sure how well I came through on camera, but hopefully today will be a lot better. I can start with what I'm wearing. This is a pattern that I've actually written myself. It's a self-made pattern. Eventually it will be for sale, but I'm not at that point quite yet. I don't know when it will come out, but I am planning on it to come out this year. Yeah. I have decided to do one change this time compared to previous episodes. I am planning on only showing projects that I have actually worked on. So there are quite a few projects that are kind of hibernating at the moment. One of them is the purple sweater that I had picked up the stitches for the sleeves, but I haven't actually knit on it yet, so I just left that out of sight. And also the two projects that I have mentioned previously that are hibernating, my red sweater and my sailor sweater, are both also not going to be shown, but I did want to mention them. I also have quite a lot of acquisitions this week, but I'll take that at the end of the episode. So yeah, I think I'll actually start with the one whip that's on my table. I have only barely touched it. It is a pair of vanilla socks, and you have seen this many times before if you've been here before. It's my vanilla sock, and yeah, as I said, barely any progress. I'm pretty certain the only knitting I did on this is the knitting I did while editing last week's podcast. You have heard my complaints about sock knitting lately. I think I'm just struggling with finding the most enjoyable way of knitting socks, because these are so close to being done. I used to knit them with magic loop, and at some point I just wasn't enjoying it anymore and I had no progress, so I took the socks off the needles, and instead of knitting them two at a time, I just put one of them on the pants, and that that sock flew off the needles, and now I'm just stuck with one second sock. You know, the second sock syndrome. So yeah, these socks are gonna be really lovely when they're done. It's just gonna take ages. But I can tell you about the yarn, because the yarn is lovely. The purple one is Mrs. Fox Glitter Merino in the colorway Cold Shoulder, or in my language, Kald Skulder. While this peach color is Life in the Long Grass Singles in the colorway Angel City. And I must say, when I first got this skein, I wasn't quite convinced, but this combination, it is just so pretty. I do not regret this at all. So yeah, I can't wait to use that skein for something else later. It's not the Glitter Merino. This one does contain nylon, but the Life in the Long Grass one does not. So it's not a proper sock yarn, but I wanted some contrast color because I was starting to get really bored and I had barely knit more than the cuffs. So yeah, apparently I've been struggling with these socks since I started them for some reason. I should just have ripped them out the second I started struggling with them, but I really, really, really want the finished pair of socks. So I haven't had the heart to do that, and now I'm almost done. I just can't convince myself to actually get them done. Yeah, maybe I should just put them front and center and get them over with so I can actually be done with them. Yeah, probably should do that. Probably won't. I've been knitting on them since September, so, and it's February now, so yeah, been a long time. I can show the next whip, which I think will be this very tiny little red scarf. Last week I showed you the beginnings of a mini scarf that I was not happy with and was planning on ripping out, and right after that podcast I did rip it out, but it took me quite a few days to figure out what to knit instead, but when I did, it actually went quite fast, and this has been the knitting I've done on public transit. I have been planning for quite a while to bring out my bike, but the weather has been very shifting between freezing and slightly above, so I feel it's kind of too slippery to bike. I do know that I have winter tires and all of that, but considering I would be so stressed and tense the entire way, I just decided I didn't want to put myself through that, so I have had another week of bus, and because of that I've been able to knit. I was inspired by the Sophie scarf, but I do not own Petite Knit's pattern, so I do not know how close this is to the actual pattern. I just did my own thing, I guess. Though I do understand why she chose to do garter stitch, because I tried so many other textured things and it didn't work out. It curled, or it just didn't look right, and I kind of wanted to do something with cables, but I'm also a bit cabled out. It just wasn't working. But this, I really do think is working. I did previously say I didn't want to do I-cord edging, but I did try to do this without the I-cord, and it just didn't look as good. It looked unfinished, and I did not want to do the I-cord at the end, so I just ripped out and started over. So yeah, I am very pleased. I think it's neat, I think it's quite tidy. I decided I did not want to increase on both sides to make it like a very wide diamond, I guess. I would instead only increase on one side, but after increasing to this point, I thought it was wide enough. I didn't want it wider, so I just stopped increasing, and I'm almost at a point where I want to decrease, but I want to have enough fabric to actually tie. So at the moment, this is like half of it, and of course my measuring tape is in the living room, because I just helped my husband measure his head, even though I told him I knew his hat size. Somewhere I do know I have a second measuring tape, but anyway, this at the moment does go halfway around my neck and a bit more, but I still think it's too short to do it properly. Like, I want to actually be able to tie it, and I don't think this would be enough. I know I wouldn't have my hair in the way and all of that, but still trying to tie two ends when I only have like this much, I don't think that's gonna be enough. And I do have a lot more of this yarn. This skein is actually quite well used, so it's almost, I think it's half of what this is at the moment. But I do think this one tiny skein will be more than enough, but I do also have more of this from, these are leftover yarn from my Santa hat that I knit for Christmas. Though I wasn't actually done with it for Christmas, I was done with it right before New Year, if I remember correctly. I was like desperately trying to make it done in 2024. So yeah, I think this will probably be done this weekend, probably, at least before next podcast. I have changed the day when I film this, so I know that when I upload this it will be Saturday, but I am not in the weekend yet. Weekend is far off, and we have another busy weekend, so it won't be the relief we kind of need. My husband got really upset when I reminded him that we had an event also on Friday, because he had completely forgotten and was really mentally prepared to finally have almost a whole weekend with nothing to do. Instead, we are booked both on Friday and Saturday. That's just how it is. Next week though, maybe. It would be really nice to have a weekend with no plans, but I don't think we have a weekend without any plans until like middle of March. How did this happen? Who knows? But yeah, that's the Petite Knit inspired mini scarf, which I will now put away. Oh, actually I forgot to say two things. One, the needle size. It is 2.5 millimeters, and I knit this up in probably, I'm not 100% certain, it is either thin merino or, oh god, I can't remember. I know the colorway is deep red, or no, it's red. It's particularly really red. Actually, I do have my notes here on the computer, so maybe I can find it. That would probably be better. Come on. Because I do have the notes for Santa hat, even though I don't have this notes digital yet. It is... Yeah, I knew I didn't have it correct. It's still Sandnes garn, yes, but it's not thin merino. It is Babyull Lanett, and the colorway is red 4128. So yeah, very happy with this. Talking about colorways and all of that, I forgot to say what yarn my sweater is made out of. It's made out of Lykkegarn thick merino, which I think now is just called merino, in the colorway Mars. So yeah, that's the mini scarf, that's the sweater, all of that. The information will have been listed here at the bottom when I started talking about the project, so if I forget to say, it will have been listed here. I list them for about 10 seconds, so you do have time enough to like look down at your knitting and up again and catch the blob and then continue with your knitting. I mean, that's what I do when I'm looking at knitting podcasts. I really do love hearing people talk about their knitting and knitting on my own stuff at the same time. So yeah, putting it down. Now I'm actually getting to some of the bigger projects, which I do find quite funny at the moment because my two biggest projects are both green sweaters. So yeah, guess what my favorite color is. This one I have loved working on this week. It is probably my favorite project, though it does require a bit more thinking because of where I am at the moment. And I can't wait to try it on. I gotta figure out how to show this, and also I have 2 yarn balls attached, so yeah. Okay. Here it is. This is my textured, which is a very difficult word to say, sweater. I do not have a proper name for it yet. And I'm also gonna pull out the needles a tiny bit so they don't clack on the table. And make it perhaps a tiny bit more easy to show. Probably not. Yeah. I am showing you the front, though it doesn't quite lay correctly at the moment, because what I'm holding here are the shoulder seams, but they will be more like this. So most of the diamond pattern will end up on the back side of the shoulder at the moment. So kind of the front, you will see a tiny bit of the diamond here, and then it goes into this twisted rib part. It's easier to show on the back because the back panel is easier to deal with. So I have added quite a lot actually on the back. I did finish the diamond pattern, and I started on the second twisted rib pattern at the bottom here, and I've also started increasing for the underarms, or like the armhole, trying to like get it proper shaped. I do need to try this on and see how big do I want it, because the form of the shoulder, this would not look good oversized, so I would prefer that it's not oversized, obviously. But it also means I gotta try it on. So yeah, I did stop in the middle of a round just because I was so tired yesterday that I couldn't finish the row even, and just went to bed. So they are not connected in the round yet, clearly, considering the front is at the moment a lot shorter than the back, but I have connected the 2 front panels, which I hadn't the last time I showed. So I think I actually have to like have 2 stitch markers to show the progress, or perhaps now that I can just say I have barely started on this panel on the back, and I'm gonna do the front properly before I actually, yeah. As you can see, this is how much I knit on the back, while on the front I think I had finished the diamond pattern on one side. No, I had completely done one of the sides, all the way down to where I was thinking of adding a few stitches to connect the neckline, but the other side I was barely here, in the middle of the diamond pattern. And then I knit basically this entire part afterwards. So not that much, but it's only been like less than a week. Well, for me at least. And yeah. This is knit out of Sandnes Garn Smart, which is a superwash yarn. Though I don't think it's merino. No, it's just 100% wool. So 100% wool but superwash. And here you can try and get a close-up of at least the ribbing. And I will show the back to show the diamond pattern. The diamond pattern has a stockinette background, so it does curl when I haven't like blocked it or even added a collar. Which now I actually can. I hadn't even thought about that. I can add a collar to this now. Maybe I should do that before connecting it in the round. But then I will have another ball of yarn. No, I think I'm gonna connect in the round and then add the collar. Unless I suddenly have the urge to add the collar, that can happen. But I will remove this stitch marker and now probably put it here at the very, very front. Oops, I lost it. Just to show how far I've got. I do believe, yes, I am done with this twisted rib part and are going into the diamond pattern here in the front, which is the diamond pattern here. So I am quite close to being equal in the front and back, which is nice. I would like to have it the same in the front and back before I connect it in the round to see if I need to make any adjustments, because I haven't done this shoulder construction before, and perhaps I don't know if I have like connected the different textures in the correct places, I guess. Is the best way to say it. Hard to say. Yeah. Anyway, I am very pleased. It has been real fun to knit this. It has taken a bit more of my concentration than I have been able to give lately, but that's just how it is sometimes. So yeah, I'm gonna take these and put them here. I have my stool back, so oh no, there you go. Making a lot of noise, but yeah. So I can finally put that away. The color is Sjøgrønn, by the way. I completely forgot to say. So yeah. Next project I'm gonna show is not a big project, and it hasn't had that much progress, but I am very pleased with it. This used to be my transportation project, but the tiny mini scarf has been so fun to knit that I haven't actually brought this out on the bus. I have gotten, I would say, a quarter of the way, more like a third of this pattern. I will show you the other side because it's actually easier to see. There you go. It's gonna be a snowflake-ish pattern. I showed you the picture last time. I think I have it here. Yeah. This is a snowflake that inspired the whole thing. I saw, I think, like a million of these traditional snowflakes kind of things, and I kind of made my own. And yeah, at the moment I am very pleased. This is actually two different yarns, two different yarn brands, though they do have the exact same meterage, but they do not feel the same while knitting it. This grey feels kind of like less tightly spun. So it gives a different style, shows up differently. I don't know how to explain it. The grey is Rauma Vandre. I don't know the color number on top of my head, but I know it's light grey or like something along those lines. It is very light. Well, this other one is Hogna Garn Kvil in the colorway Lille, which means flames or like fire, which is a very apt name. So yeah, and I really do love it. There are 50 grams gives 90 meters. Yeah, 90 meters in 50 grams. And I am knitting on way too small needles, but I don't care. It's easier doing that because this is double knitting. So yeah, it lays a lot nicer afterwards. If I had knit on too big of needles, the gauge would be too loose, and it would be even looser because of the double knitting. So I don't mind that at the moment. It kind of looks like the beginnings of a frisbee. So yeah, I've enjoyed this. I really do look forward to getting the finished object. I think I will look adorable with this like headband thing. Earwormer's headband, I do not know what's the most appropriate word is. In my language it's just pannebånd, which is like a band to have on your forehead. So yeah, very accurate. Yeah, I love this. And I'm putting it here because it's easier than trying to like put things everywhere. And then I only have one more project to show. And as I said, another green sweater. These are my two big projects, and this one, last time I had finally split for sleeves. And I must admit, I have barely knit more than like a round since last time. So I am thinking that next time you won't see this one because I'm intentionally hibernating it until the other green one is done. Because even though I really do want a second cable sweater, I do not necessarily need two at the moment. I would rather have the other one. But I am very, very pleased. This is my second sample of this sweater, which is why this one hasn't come out yet. There were things about this pattern that I decided I wanted to change, even though I will not go back and knit this differently. That's, in my opinion, your samples are kind of like learning how to do the best finished object for the future. So this was one that I when I started it, I had no intentions of ever releasing a pattern, and now I have released two. So yeah, that's how it is. Things change. But this is the second sample, and I must say, really, really loving the pattern. Of course, since this is dark green and speckled or variegated, it is very difficult to see the actual pattern. And for that I do apologize, but that was kind of what I wanted with this sweater. I wanted to put this on and people be like, oh, that's a green sweater, and then they come closer and then like, oh my god, are those cables? That's what I wanted. And I do get that, so perfect. I have made two changes to this one. I have changed this cable. It does go along your body, but it does go quite close to the stitches under your arm. I have added a panel with reverse stockinette to the other side of this cable, so this cable kind of goes more towards the front here, and I've only increased on one side of them for quite a while to get this cable more like this. Let me see. I'm stabbing myself with the needles. Okay, there you can see. This cable goes, it's the raglan cable. And you can see down here, there's this reverse stockinette portion, and this cable kind of like continues down without having increases on this side, only on this side. And that was because I wanted that cable to show up more easily, so you don't have this wide moss stitch panel. It was a bit too domineering. I wanted it to be more cables. But I also wanted it to be a relatively easy pattern, so you wouldn't have to like cable 50 times in one row, and it would be relatively easy to pay attention to when you're supposed to cable. So I have also changed the rate at when I do this cable. I have now changed it so it aligns more with when you do actually this middle cable, so you don't have to think as much. You can just look. I'm going to do this cable, then I also have to remember to cable here. Makes it easier. And that was the intention. I wanted it to be a pattern where people don't necessarily have to think. I know that I do have a lot more experience in knitting and keeping track of my own knitting and reading my own knitting, and not everyone finds it easy to read your own knitting, especially in cables. And since that is a challenge for people, I decided to do my best to make it as easy as possible. So yeah, so you don't have to think as much. So yeah, there is one place in my old knitting where I know I had counted it like 50 times, and every time I see it I think, did I cable one time too late? Because the way the cable sits, it kind of looks like it was cabled later. But it is correct. I think that's just not a blocking issue, it's more like it hasn't been blocked issue. So yeah. Because I can see and I can count that it is cabled at all as often as it should be. But I think it just doesn't look quite right before blocking it. And it's really difficult to see in this yarn. This yarn, by the way, is Lille, Rille. I think it's just called Lille, Rille hand-dyed yarns, and maybe it's thin merino. Yeah, I think it's thin merino. Or at least merino. And this actually contains nylon. I think it's only 10% nylon. Anyway, all the information will have been down here at the point. Not necessarily the nylon content, but the name and stuff, so you can look it up if you want to. But the colorway is Misty Mountains, and I find that a really accurate name. It is a really, really, really good name for this yarn. The cable down here at the front, half of it goes down the arms, and on the one I'm wearing, you can see the honeycomb pattern on the arm. While on this one, I did instead, well, you can barely see it because I have literally only barely started on the yarn. It is going to be a repeat of the down cable pattern that's on top of the yarn. So it's kind of like almost mirrored under the arm. There's a slight discrepancy in the number of stitches, so there will be a different type of cables that are bordering this diamond pattern. But I do find that a very pretty pattern, so I still like it. Yeah, I think that's all I have to say about this one. And I'm gonna move the stitch marker now, or else I might never do it. Or might just forget and then continue saying I've knit 1 or 2 rounds when I actually haven't. It's getting difficult to keep track of my knitting because I'm thinking about so much other things. You might remember from last week that I told you that I have started a new job, and I am really loving this new job. I do get the oh, what's it called in English? Like the challenge I need doing my work. I am a programmer, so I do software development, and for the past, I would say, 8 months or so, I haven't felt very challenged in my work, which was part of the reason why I wanted to find new work. I wanted to be challenged, but I also wanted to have the support network of other colleagues that you need when you're trying to improve on yourself. So yeah, I'm very pleased, and I'm glad that they are happy with my efforts too. I have previously been in situations where I kind of feel like I've been working really hard and showing up and doing a lot of things, and then been told that they don't think I've put down enough effort or I'm working too slow. So I kind of feel like I'm more seen. Not necessarily from the last job, but from a previous one where I felt I wasn't seen. Yeah, I am enjoying the work, but it does, because everything is new, it does take a lot of mental energy. And since I'm thinking so much about work, I realize I'm not thinking as much about my knitting, and I keep forgetting where I am with things. So that's kind of new. I mean, it's a good thing because it means I'm actually getting challenged and learning stuff, and everything is new, so I'm having a lot of fun. But yeah. Actually, my previous job, we haven't had a chance to have a goodbye party for me yet. So they are having a New Year's party thing this Friday, so yesterday for you, or when this comes out. And I've been invited with my husband to this party as a goodbye thing for me. And I really do enjoy the fact that they thought of me and wanted me here. It's kind of weird to have so many social engagement with both my old and my new job at the same time. But I am very happy about that because I think I would have felt very lonely if there were no social things going on with neither job. I would kind of feel left out, and how would I get to know people if we're only going to meet during work hours and we only talk about day-to-day stuff? I mean, that is kind of what life is about, but when you're having a good time and dancing and talking about random stuff and things like that, you do get to know people a lot better, a lot faster. So I kind of feel like I've gotten to know quite a lot of my colleagues already because I've met them at social settings and we have done social stuff together. And I also feel like I know my old colleagues quite well too, even though I wasn't at because then I was a consultant, and I wasn't at any projects with any of my colleagues. I was always on a project alone, which is a bit lonely. But that's just how the market was at the time. So, yeah. They do prefer to send people as teams to other companies when they're sending consultants, but if companies can't hire more than one consultant, then we're still gonna send them. That's just how it is. So yeah. Back to knitting related stuff. I do have one acquisition thing, two technically, because I have a friend. Actually, she's a friend of me and my husband's, and she knits quite a lot. But she has a completely different relationship with yarn stash than I do. I think of this as decorations that will eventually be used, but I also do really enjoy having it. She's more like, she buys yarn for specific projects, and then she does the project, and the leftovers she either sells or gives away or finds a tiny thing to do with it. She does not want to have yarn that doesn't have a purpose. I admire her for that, but that's not how I work, and I know that. So she had bought yarn to make a specific project. Oh, that's my cat again. But sorry, kitty, you gotta wait. No, wait. Go away. Okay. My friend, she had bought yarn for a specific project. She tried to do the project, and it did not work out. I don't know the specifics, but she was really annoyed at either the yarn or the project or the pattern or all three. Anyway, it didn't work out, and she put it away for a while, and she tried doing something else, but none of her plans for the yarn worked out. So she wondered if I wanted it, because it was relatively fancy, or actually it's quite fancy in our eyes, and she didn't want to like waste it, is kind of the right word, I guess. Kitty, stop nagging. Go away. She's probably just gonna keep nagging. But yeah. The yarn she wanted to get rid of was Hogna Garn. And I don't know if this yarn has a more specific name. Some of the tags only says Hogna. Some of them says, all of it is from Nea Ullspinneri, which is in Norway, not too far out of Trondheim. Yeah. Most of the tags only says Nea. I did have one here. Yeah, most of them were just this. Nea, Nea. Some of the tags were quite faded, probably because she had had them in stash for quite a while before actually starting the project. Not that she had a lot of yarn, but more that she is very project oriented. She's doing one project at a time, so this project might have been planned but not touched for quite a while. And also, this is mostly hand-dyed yarn from a relatively small company, so not all the tags survive. They are not laminated or made out of plastic, they're just paper and printed on. So yeah, the tags aren't necessarily in the best condition. But yeah. So she gifted me, or rather I bought some of her leftover yarns, and she gave me some extra because she realized she wasn't going to use that either. So I can show you the things I bought and tell you what it is. I'm just gonna say I bought it all because we agreed on some of it, and then she added a few extra balls, and that was just, it's okay, it happens. But yeah, I got this very nice cream colored from Nea. I have, this one is slightly used, and then I have 3 unused. I am not 100% convinced that they are all exactly the same colorway, but I don't mind. This one is trying to run away. There you go. So yeah, the tags are inside here, which is why I'm not gonna pull them out. But I do know they're from Nea Ullspinneri. I just don't know if this is Nea or Hogna or something else. But honestly, I don't necessarily care this as an exact type of yarn. I do know they are 100% wool and they're 100% Norwegian wool, but the type of sheep, I do not know. But yeah, those are the whites, or cream colored ones. I also got this quite bright green one and this darker green one, which I think this green one is the same yarn but a slightly different color than the green I used for my seascape sweater. That was Hogna, I think. I am not 100% certain if this tag goes with this one, because quite a few of the tags had fallen off, and she had apparently also accidentally added a few tags. So we're not sure. Yeah, but I have these 2 very nice green colors. I'm pretty certain they can be used in the same project if I want to, but this they are kind of sort of leftovers. Yeah. Anyway. And I also got this, I would say this is a very, very, very dark brown, almost black. Also Nea. And this one, you might be able to see maybe that they are not the same color. This one is slightly more brown, but I don't know if we're gonna be able to see that on camera when it's so late at night and all of that. But yeah, this one is slightly more brown. I do think that was all the Nea Ullspinneri yarn. And we agreed on the cream and the dark yarn from Nea. The green was kind of extra. And then we also agreed on some Rauma. This is Rauma Vandre. And she had planned on a project for this and then decided she did not want to do that project. So she asked if I wanted to buy this too. So I did. So I have 3 untouched skins. And this, which I guess is, she ripped out whatever she was starting doing with this. So I guess this is the 4th one. And that is Rauma Vandre. And with that, she also had this Rauma Plum, which is mohair. It's 70% super kid mohair and 30% polyamide. So this is not silk mohair, this is synthetic with mohair, which is quite nice. I'm gonna try it, maybe even with this yarn, who knows? I could try. I do not know what to do with this yarn yet. I don't plan the project first and get the yarn necessarily. I often do it the other way around. I get the yarn and then let it stew a bit and think what do I want to do with it, and then find the perfect project, either from my own head or inspiration from online. Yeah, that's usually what happens. I'm just rearranging some of the things on my table here. Now the rest, oh yeah, also she had some leftovers from a different project, Tynn Merino, Sandnes Tynn Merino, and these are the colorway I was running around trying to find because I was certain I wouldn't have enough for my Santa hat, and then I didn't need anything more. So I do actually have some leftover of this already. I think everyone was knitting with this exact yarn in this exact color this December, because I was running around trying to find it and no one had it. It was sold out everywhere. So yeah, leftovers from projects she had, I bought these two. But then I got some yarn that she didn't know where it was from, she didn't know what it was for, she had no plans, she didn't want it. So she gave it to me. So one of them, I am pretty certain this one is also Tynn Merino, but black. They do look very similar in texture and thickness and the way it's plied. So I'm pretty certain that this is a leftover from a project that was with the two white skins. And another one was actually knitting for Olive Merino, also black. She had one skein left over, and she wondered if I wanted it, and I said yes. So that was very nice. So I now have two skeins of knitting for Olive Merino, but they're not the same color, and I do not know what I'm gonna do with it, because here at your right, my left, I have a bunch of single skeins that at a point in time I was planning on just making a bunch of swatches and figuring out what yarn I liked and not, and then planning projects. But I have learned I don't work that way at all. I do not swatch. I know I probably should, but swatching takes all the joy out of knitting for me. So instead I knit, and then I call the thing I've knit the swatch if it didn't work out, and then rip it out and do it over. That's how I work. So yeah, don't know what I'm gonna do with this either, but I am happy I have it. The last thing in her bag of mystery yarn was another black yarn, which we have absolutely no idea what it is. This is filled with cat hair, which is, well, common problem when both of us have cats. So yeah. I do not know what this is. I do not know what I'm gonna use it for. I am going to assume that it's not wool. It is very, very soft and not very elastic. So yeah, I don't know. I will figure it out. That's everything I got from my friend. But of course, before she told me she had all this yarn she wanted to get rid of, I was planning on starting a project with this yarn. This yarn is called Carnival. I have 5 skeins. I thought they were thick merino and not thin merino. They're from the same dyer that did this one, Lykkegarn. I thought it was the same thickness as this one. And this one is 450 meters per, no, 225 meters per 100 grams. And since I thought that yarn was the same, I've found this. And this is Sandnes alpaca silke, which is 70% baby alpaca and 30% silk. It's mulberry silk. And with the math, I figured 6 skeins would be enough. But I was wrong, because it was not 225 meters per 100 grams. It was 450 meters per 100 grams. So it was no, it was exactly twice as much. So I only bought half as much as I need, which is sad. And I've been thinking, should I go back and buy more, or should I do something else with this? And also, should I just start the project, because I am pretty certain, I do know why I have 5 of this. I thought it was the same, so I bought 5. I do not need 5 when it's thinner and longer. But I do not know how much I'm gonna need. And I don't want to end up with too few. And because, yes, I am planning on starting that project, but not right now. I wanted to be prepared, because the reason why that's been on hold is because I knew I wanted to hold it with some other yarn. And I was thinking maybe mohair, I was thinking maybe something else. And I hadn't quite decided, and now I have decided on doing this alpaca silk. Because I don't necessarily want to do it fuzzy, I just want to... Well, the colorway is called Carnival, and I don't want to look like a carnival necessarily. And I don't want it to be too similar to this one. I want it to be brighter with more of a subtle undertone of color. So yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see how it's gonna look. Also, I'm hoping it's gonna stabilize it a tiny bit with the silk, so it doesn't pill as much as this one have been doing. Also, at some point I gotta have to wash this one, because after redoing the hem, the collar and the cuffs, I still haven't washed it. Oh, blocked it, I mean. So yeah. Gonna have to do that at some point. I'm doing a very slow round of washing all of my knits, mostly because I've been so busy, so I haven't had the chance to go through all my knits and washing them as I've been wearing them. They have been kind of like piling up in a little pile, and I've been thinking like I really do have to wash that thing, or at least put it in the freezer before I use it again, and I haven't. So yeah. Yeah, I think... Sorry. I always get yarn fuzz on or in my nose while showing off my knits. So yeah. I'm gonna have to do some serious prioritization, yes, with my knits, because at the moment, since I've been so busy and I have so little knitting time, and I also have so many social commitments, I kind of feel like a few rounds here and a few rounds there on each project is not motivational for me at the moment. I do enjoy knitting, but I see no progress at the moment. Wow, I've seen that a lot now. At the moment, yeah. I don't see a lot of progress, and it doesn't necessarily demotivate me, but it is discouraging. I want to see progress, I want to actually have finished objects to show. Did I have... Oh yeah, last time I did have a finished object, that was nice. But yeah, I like this project. I really want this to be done next time so I can show it. And it would be hilarious if I had both of these done at the same time. And then, the week after, perhaps I would have this one done, because I concentrated on getting some things out of the way. And then the knitting I've actually done on one sweater would be significant enough to actually show progress, instead of just look at me knitting 2 centimeters. So yeah. Also gonna have to redo my shelves, because they are getting really disorganized. Not necessarily these 2 shelves, but This one at the top here, I know I showed it last time, or maybe it was the time before, but it's super chaotic, and I now have even more yarn I'm gonna have to put away. And I want to put all my leftovers in a more logical place than the bucket on my table. Which will eventually become a leftover yarn sweater, because all of that yarn is Sandnes Garn Double Sunday. They are all from my hat projects that were very intense this last winter, or fall and then winter. So I do have a lot double Sunday. Maybe I should get double Sunday. Also pills like crazy if you don't hold it with any mohair, and perhaps leftovers sweater is the appropriate way to get to try out mohair, because if it doesn't work out, it was only the leftovers that I wasted and not an entire sweater with new yarn. Maybe I should do that. I gotta figure out what color though. The best would probably be some grey or white or something like that, because it would go with all the colors. But I don't know if I want to tone down all the colors. Though I'm gonna have a terrible time trying to find mohair to match all of them, and I'm gonna have so much left over, so no, I'm gonna have one colored mohair with all the different colors of double Sunday. Yeah. I do not know when I'm gonna have time to do all the things I'm planning. Not necessarily the knitting things, that's just gonna happen eventually. But I'm thinking of like reorganizing this shelf, and I mean, I'm very happy with the organization I did with my knitting space. The new setup of the table, even though it's very similar to the setup I had before, works a lot better. The only thing I'm having issues with is, you might be able to see it, this blue glare from the computer screen on my face if I look at the wrong angle. So yeah. Yeah. The more I talk, the more I say That's all I can say. Remember last week's debacle with me trying not to say Yeah, I think I have said everything I want to, except for one thing. One of the reasons that I really want to get done with those purple socks is all of those yarn skeins here are multicolored and variegated and super fun actual sock yarn, and I desperately want something else than just purple. So yeah. And I'm looking forward to having more socks. I have been living with one pair for quite a while now. I do know I have a different pair I can use, but those are already getting quite worn. And I really do want to have more socks, so I can not wear the same pair every single day. I do wash them during the weekends, but I want to wear them during the weekends too. That's a struggle. And they are starting to get very pilly, so I do need to like do a proper depilling session and all of that. Yeah. Look at me trying to make a short episode by not talking about all of my knitting and still ending up with more than an hour. That's just... I guess I just like to talk about knitting. Okay, I'll wrap it up here. Thank you all for keeping up with me and all my babbling. And I do hope you have enjoyed this episode. Please like the episode if you liked it, and subscribe. And I'll see you all next time. Bye.